Everyone remembers Tom Cruise jumping on Oprah's couch, but almost nobody talks about what happened after the cameras stopped rolling. Because years later, Katie Holmes would execute one of the most secretive escape plans Hollywood has ever seen: disposable phones, hidden apartments, private lawyers, and one mission above all else: protecting Suri. If you want to understand what really happens when fame, fortune, and faith collide, hit subscribe right now, because this story goes deeper than any tabloid. Now, let's begin. So what really happened inside Hollywood's most mysterious marriage? Was it a fairy tale that soured, or a calculated extraction from a world Katie no longer recognized? The world thought they were witnessing Hollywood's greatest love story, a global superstar, a young actress living her childhood dream, a romance so explosive it dominated every headline on Earth. But years later, that same fairy tale would collapse into one of the most mysterious celebrity divorces Hollywood had ever seen. Disposable phones, secret apartments, private lawyers, silent negotiations, and at the center of it all, a little girl named Suri. Because according to decades of reporting, Katie Holmes wasn't simply leaving a marriage, she was executing an escape plan. And the most shocking part? Tom Cruise allegedly never saw it coming. But to understand how one of Hollywood's most powerful marriages completely collapsed, we first need to understand the two completely different people who created it, and why their worlds may have never truly belonged together. Long before the castles, the red carpets, and the endless paparazzi flashes, there was just a boy trying to survive instability. Tom Cruise wasn't born into Hollywood royalty. His childhood was marked by constant movement, different schools, different neighborhoods, different versions of himself. And for a child struggling with dyslexia, the classroom often felt like a battlefield. Years later, Tom would openly discuss how difficult those years truly were. Reading became frustrating. Learning felt humiliating. Keeping up with other children seemed almost impossible. But somewhere inside that chaos, Tom discovered something powerful: control. Acting gave him what real life couldn't: precision, discipline, structure. In front of a camera, he could finally decide how the world saw him, and that obsession with discipline would later become one of the defining forces of his entire life, including his relationships. But before Katie Holmes, there was already a pattern. Tom's first marriage to Mimi Rogers ended in 1990. Then came Nicole Kidman, a marriage that lasted 11 years and produced 2 adopted children, Isabella and Connor. But when that marriage ended in 2001, something strange happened. According to former Scientology officials, the church allegedly instructed the children to reject their mother and her movies. Isabella and Connor reportedly chose Scientology over Kidman, creating a rift that would never fully heal. That story, a mother losing contact with her children because of religious separation, would later echo in Katie Holmes's greatest fear. But while Tom was growing up inside instability, Katie Holmes was growing up in an entirely different universe. And that difference would later become impossible to ignore. Katie Holmes grew up in Toledo, Ohio, a quiet Midwestern environment. Her father was a lawyer. Her mother stayed home. Her upbringing was deeply rooted in traditional Catholic values. Unlike Tom's chaotic childhood, Katie's life followed structure: school, family dinners, church, community. She wasn't raised inside Hollywood ambition. She was raised inside normalcy, and maybe that's why America connected with her so deeply. When Dawson's Creek exploded in popularity, Katie didn't feel unreachable. She felt familiar, like someone audiences already knew. The girl next door, soft-spoken, calm, approachable. But beneath that gentle image, Katie was still ambitious. She wanted more than Ohio, more than comfort, more than predictability. And years before she would ever meet Tom Cruise, she made a confession that would later become legendary. "I used to think I was going to marry Tom Cruise. At the time, it sounded innocent, like a teenage fantasy. But years later, that fantasy would become reality. And reality would become something far more complicated. By the early 2000s, Tom Cruise wasn't just a movie star. He was Hollywood royalty. Mission Impossible, Jerry Maguire, Top Gun. Tom had become more than an actor. He was an industry. Everything about him felt larger than life. Meanwhile, Katie Holmes was still fighting to evolve beyond Dawson's Creek. Then suddenly, their worlds collided. And almost overnight, the media became obsessed. Every photo, every smile, every handhold, it all turned into global entertainment. But nothing, absolutely nothing, prepared the world for Oprah. May 2005, The Oprah Winfrey Show. What should have been a normal celebrity interview became one of the most unforgettable moments in pop culture history. Tom Cruise walked onto the stage energized, excited, emotional, almost euphoric. Then suddenly, he started talking about Katie Holmes, and within seconds, everything changed. Tom grabbed Oprah's hands, dropped to his knees, jumped on the couch. The audience screamed. The internet exploded. The clip immediately became cultural history. Some people saw pure love. Others saw something else entirely, a man losing control of his carefully crafted image. Because before that moment, Tom Cruise represented precision, control, professionalism, power. But suddenly, the world saw vulnerability, raw emotion. And Katie Holmes? She instantly became the woman powerful enough to make Tom Cruise act like that. But behind the excitement, another reality was quietly forming. Because love inside Hollywood doesn't stay private for long. It becomes a product, and once that happens, everything changes. Just weeks later, Tom proposed to Katie in Paris. In front of the Eiffel Tower, the images looked almost unreal, like a Hollywood script written specifically for magazines. Then came the wedding. November 18th, 2006. The Odescalchi Castle in Lake Bracciano, Italy, a 15th century medieval fortress overlooking the water. More than 150 guests, including Will Smith, Brooke Shields, Victoria Beckham, and Jim Carrey. A reported cost of upwards of $3 million, Katie wore an off-the-shoulder Armani gown with an ivory silk train adorned in Valenciennes lace and Swarovski beaded crystal embroidery. Tom wore a navy blue Armani handmade suit. Around 40,000 fans lined the streets of Bracciano, hoping for a glimpse of Hollywood royalty to the public. TomKat had become the definition of modern celebrity royalty. And when Suri Cruise was born on April 18, 2006, 5 months before the wedding, the fairy tale seemed complete. Her name, Suri, means red rose in Persian and princess. In Hebrew, a beautiful child, a glamorous family, a global empire built on romance. But behind the cameras, something far more complicated may have already been happening, because marriage doesn't just unite two people. It unites two belief systems. And Tom Cruise's beliefs had already become one of the most controversial subjects in Hollywood. Scientology wasn't simply a religion in Tom Cruise's life. It was foundational. Tom openly credited Scientology for helping him overcome many of his personal struggles, including his dyslexia. To him, it wasn't controversy. It was salvation, and from Tom's perspective, wanting his family connected to those beliefs may have felt completely natural. But reports suggest that Scientology's involvement in Tom's love life went far deeper than mere personal belief. According to multiple sources, church leader David Miscavige allegedly tasked his wife, Shelley, with finding a suitable wife for Cruise. Then they struck gold when Katie, then 26, mentioned in an interview that she'd like to marry Tom Cruise. Some have even called these dating auditions orchestrated by the church. Katie Holmes came from a radically different background. Catholic traditions, Midwestern privacy, quiet structure, and according to years of media speculation, the adjustment may not have been easy. People connected to Scientology reportedly became increasingly present around the couple. There were reports of a Scientologist chaperone named Jessica Rodriguez, who was constantly with Katie. The public noticed changes. Katie spoke less in interviews. Her body language shifted. Her public identity slowly transformed. And then came the story that changed everything. According to a 2012 report in the New York Post, a Scientology handler allegedly stepped in when Katie tried to discipline Suri. The handler reportedly said they couldn't let her do that and that they would have to call Tom. As Cruise's inner circle exerted more control, Holmes became more determined to keep Suri away from his Scientology crew. Because according to reports, everything changed once Katie began thinking about Suri's future, and that's when the story allegedly became far more serious. Before Suri, Tom Cruise had already experienced one extremely public family story: his marriage to Nicole Kidman and their adopted children, Isabella and Connor. Over the years, the media constantly speculated about Scientology's role inside that family dynamic. Former Scientology officials have claimed the church brainwashed Tom's children and turned them against Nicole Kidman. According to those reports, Isabella and Connor were taught to reject their mother and her movies. They grew apart from Kidman and remained devoted to Scientology and to their father. Katie Holmes may have paid close attention to that history because once Suri entered the picture, the stakes became completely different. This was no longer just about marriage, it was about motherhood, and according to reports, Katie increasingly wanted a quieter, more independent life for her daughter. Not Hollywood royalty, not global, spectacle. Normalcy, New York sidewalks, school routines, privacy, but her fears went deeper. According to TMZ, Katie became convinced that Tom was planning to send 6-year-old Suri away to a hardcore Scientology organization known as the C Organization, where children are separated from their parents for years. She felt the only way to save Suri was to file for divorce and seek sole legal custody. Other sources described her fear that Tom wanted to bury Suri to the neck in Scientology, and that she risked her safety to launch an exit strategy. And allegedly, that desire slowly became incompatible with Tom Cruise's world. Then came 2012, and suddenly, everything exploded. Tom Cruise was filming Oblivion in Iceland, far away from New York, far away from home. Then, without warning, Katie Holmes filed for divorce. The media was stunned. Reports began surfacing almost immediately. Secret lawyers, private apartments, disposable phones. According to the Los Angeles Times, a friend gave Katie a cheap, throwaway, pay-as-you-go mobile phone so she could talk to her attorneys without Tom or his staff finding out. It was her own mission. Impossible operation. The key narrative quickly transformed into something cinematic, not emotional chaos. Strategy, according to reports. Katie had allegedly prepared the separation quietly for months. She secretly rented a new apartment in New York's Chelsea district in early June 2012. When Tom found out, she told him she moved there to drive into the underground garage. He didn't know it was part of her grand escape plan. She cut off communications from almost all of her friends, switching cell phones and email addresses. Her inner circle, including her attorney father, Martin Holmes, helped orchestrate the sudden split. Her father, a lawyer himself, had reportedly been helping her plan the divorce strategy for weeks, and the speed shocked everyone, especially Tom. His representatives released a brief statement. Kate has filed for divorce, and Tom is deeply saddened and is concentrating on his 3 children. But behind the scenes, sources close to Tom accused Katie of playing the media and dragging Scientology into the breakup to hurt him. Then came the most shocking detail of all. The divorce was finalized incredibly quickly, just 11 days. Less than 2 weeks. Attorney Jonathan Wolfe confirmed the settlement on July 9, 2012. The case has been settled and the agreement has been signed, he said, which only intensified public curiosity. Because whatever happened behind closed doors, both sides clearly wanted the process finished fast, especially for Suri. The settlement gave Katie primary custody of Suri. Some reports say sole custody. Tom received generous visitation rights, though he has rarely, if ever, exercised them. As part of the agreement, Tom agreed to pay $400 per year in child support until Suri turned 18. Katie received no spousal support and no part of Tom's estimated $400 per year in child support until Suri turned 18. Katie received no spousal support and no part of Tom's estimated $250 million fortune due to a prenuptial agreement. But the most significant detail may have been invisible to the public. Reports indicate the divorce settlement included restrictions on Suri's involvement in the Church of Scientology. This was not speculation. This was reportedly written into the legal agreement. Then came the lawsuit that changed everything. In May 2013, Tom Cruise sued a media company over articles claiming he had abandoned Suri, and during legal testimony, the conversation turned towards Scientology. One particular exchange immediately captured headlines. When asked whether Katie left partly to protect Suri from Scientology, Tom responded, "That was one of the assertions, yes." The statement exploded across media outlets because for the first time, Scientology wasn't just tabloid speculation, it had entered official legal discussion. Now, to be fair, that statement alone doesn't explain an entire marriage. And nobody outside the family truly knows what happened privately, but it confirmed something enormous. The issue was real enough to become part of the divorce conversation itself, and suddenly, the public started seeing the entire TomKat story differently. After the divorce, their lives moved in opposite directions. Tom Cruise doubled down on cinema. Mission Impossible, Top Gun, Maverick, global premieres, dangerous stunts, even into his 60s, Tom continued chasing cinematic immortality. And audiences still admired the discipline that built his empire. He has not been publicly seen with Suri since approximately September 2013, just over a year after the divorce was finalized. Reports suggest they have not met in over a decade. Meanwhile, Katie Holmes disappeared from spectacle, not from life, from spectacle. She moved to New York City. She focused on quieter projects, directing films like All We Had, 2016, and Alone, Together, 2022, and starring in smaller independent productions. She walked through the city with Suri. No castles, no giant headlines. Just a mother trying to create normal life inside extraordinary circumstances. According to reports, Katie was acutely aware that she sacrificed her acting career to focus on raising Suri. She left Los Angeles and chose a more reclusive life in New York. Suri attended Carnegie Mellon University, reportedly studying vocals. She visited her mother on film sets in New York. She grew up grounded, creative, and independent. And over time, the contrast became impossible to ignore. One life remained massive. The other became intentionally small. Then years later, came one small detail that quietly shocked the internet. In June 2024, at her high school graduation ceremony, Suri reportedly appeared in the program under the name Suri Noel, not Suri Cruise. Suri Noel. Noel, Katie, Holmes' middle name. The choice carried enormous emotional weight. According to sources close to the family, Suri didn't just drop the Cruise surname. She chose to honor her mother instead, using Holmes' middle name as her own. Psychiatrists and commentators offered various interpretations. Some saw it as a teenage assertion of independence. Others, especially those familiar with the Scientology, controversies, viewed it as a deliberate distancing from her father. One psychiatrist told the Mirror that Suri might have changed her name to get back at her estranged father. But more than any interpretation, the name change symbolized something undeniable. After growing up inside one of Hollywood's loudest relationships, Suri appeared to be choosing something different. Space, privacy, identity, not TomKat, not headlines, not spectacle, herself. And what of Tom Cruise? According to insiders, the estrangement has been painful, but not necessarily by his choice. Some sources close to the situation suggest Tom's love for his daughter remains genuine, but his beliefs and the terms of the divorce have kept them apart. In early 2026, after his reported split from actress Ana de Armas, Tom allegedly shifted his focus toward trying to reconnect with Suri. Reports claimed his next big focus was repairing the relationship with his estranged daughter. But whether that's possible remains deeply uncertain. Suri is now an adult, attending college, building her own life, and clearly comfortable with the identity she has chosen for herself. Tom, meanwhile, continues to be the face of Scientology in Hollywood. His adopted children with Nicole Kidman remain devout members of the church, and the same religious organization that reportedly helped orchestrate his marriage to Katie may also be the reason he lost her. It's a tragic circle. So what really happened inside that marriage? The truth, as always, is probably more complicated than any single headline. Did Katie Holmes simply want out? Yes. Did she fear for her daughter's future within Scientology? According to Tom's own deposition, also yes. Was the marriage ever as perfect as it appeared? Almost certainly not. But perhaps the deepest legacy of this story isn't the divorce itself. It's the reminder that even inside Hollywood fantasy, people still search for the same things everyone else does: safety, identity, freedom, love. Tom Cruise continued chasing immortality on movie screens, becoming one of the last true movie stars of his generation. Katie Holmes quietly rebuilt life, away from the chaos, sacrificing her career to protect her daughter. And Suri grew up between two worlds powerful enough to shape global headlines, not with scandal, not with revenge, just distance. And sometimes walking away quietly becomes the loudest decision of all. So here's the question I want to leave you with. Do you believe Katie Holmes was protecting Suri, or simply trying to escape a life that no longer felt like her own? And more importantly, can Tom Cruise ever rebuild the bridge he lost? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you made it this far, you're exactly the kind of viewer who wants more than just headlines. So subscribe. Hit the like button, because the next story is even more unexpected.